All right, let's pray before we jump into God's Word together. Father, we do thank you for the series that we're in. God, I'm just thinking of Kim this morning, and she is really the illustration of this entire sermon series. God, when we do life not according to your way, it just opens us up to pain and suffering that you don't want us to experience. And then God, at any point in our journey, we can cry out to you when you send a Savior. At any point, you meet us right where we are at. And God, you come that we might have life and have it more abundantly. And so God, I would pray for each person in this church, whether we're saved, whether we're seeking, no matter where we're at in our spiritual journey, God, I would pray that each one of us would commit to saying, you know what, I'm just going to try to do life better according to what's right in God's eyes. And God, I would pray that as we do that, that you would bless this body. That you would bless this church, bless their families, bless their finances as they seek to do life according to what's right in your eyes. So God, help us to learn something this morning. Hide me behind your cross. Let me not be a stumbling block to the message that you want your people to hear. God, I ask these things in your Son's name. Amen. Okay, I feel like I'm a little hot, getting some feedback in the monitor, so maybe we can turn me down just a touch. Perfect. We got it going. Perfect. If you've got your Bibles this morning, I'm going to ask you to open them up to Judges chapters 4 and 5. We're going to be blitzing through 2 chapters of Scripture this morning. And here's the thing. As I'm narrating these passages to you, what you need to know and understand is I'm going to be telling you a story, and you're going to be tracking along in chapter 4, and you're going to say, that's not there. Well, it's actually in chapter 5. So what I need you to do is go home and read these chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 5. It'll take you about 10 minutes, and you can see all of the information that I'm going to share with you and some that I'm not. You're going to get the whole entire story. But our sermon this morning is coming out of Judges chapter 4 and 5. Now let me just kind of set the stage. You remember that we're following the nation of Israel. And the nation of Israel, they're on a cycle. And God had told them, when you go into the land, I want you to wipe out everything that breathes. I want you to kill them all, because if you don't, they will become a snare in your flesh, a barb in your eye. They will cause you to reject me. And the very judgments that I'm going to end up pouring on them, you'll be inviting on yourself. So please, 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 do it my way. And then the first week we discovered that it's a small compromise. We don't need to kill the king. We don't need to kill the king. The culture around us says we should humiliate the king. So let's bring them back to Jerusalem, chop off his big dog, chop off his big thumb, and we'll humiliate him. And then shortly after that, they said, really, we don't need to kill anything that breathes. What's the point of that? What about all this free labor that we could have? No. God was kidding when he said, wipe out everything that breathes. And so they're on the slippery slope of sin. Well, God was right. When they did life as according to what was right in their eye, they opened themselves up, and soon their sin turns into slavery, and they're caught into bondage, and the nation of Israel says, boy, we don't like this, and they cry out to God, who sends them a Savior. So if you were going to write down what the cycle of Judges is, it's sin, slavery, Savior. And this cycle repeats itself 3 different times through the course of the book. There's 12 judges. I was distracted by my lovely bride. Thank you. There's 12 judges in the book of Judges, and we're going to see that this moral decline in the nation doesn't just affect the people, it also affects the leaders themselves. And the whole point of this series, the point is very simple. When we do life according to what's right in God's eyes, we experience a more harmonious result in our life. Amen. When we do life according to what's right in our eyes, we make a mess of things. Amen. And we open ourselves up to all kinds of pain and suffering. And this is true whether you're a follower of Jesus Christ or not. These are one of these eternal principles, whether you know Jesus or not, you can say, for the next 30 days, I'm going to try to do life God's way. And see if your life just doesn't feel better. Or if you're a believer, you might say, you know what? there's some area in my life that I've been trying to do it my way, and now I'm going to do it God's way. And watch and see if that you don't experience a more harmonious or peaceful outcome. So this morning we are in Judges chapter 4. We are going to meet the last of the really good judges. Deborah she's unique. She's the last one that's really good, and as you look at Judges 4 and 5, you can't find a single thing wrong with Deborah. That's not the case from here on out. 12 judges mentioned. The only other really good one is Samuel, and his story isn't told in the book of Judges. That's in 1 Samuel. So Judges chapter 4 and 5, we're going to start in verse 1. Notice what it says. After Ehud died, and the people of Israel again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord after Ehud had died. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was a guy by the name of Sisera. Then the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help, for he had 900 iron chariots. And he oppressed the people of Israel cruelly for 20 years. So there's 3 details that I want to pull out of this very first verse very quickly. Detail number 1. Notice the fact that it starts quickly. Ehud is no longer, he's no longer alive, and no sooner is he dead than the people say, we're going to do life our way. And so they immediately begin experimenting and flirting with sin. And I was going to have a really kind of cool object lesson, but my kid refused to help me out, so I'm just going to have to share with you what I was going to use him for. How many of you have heard maybe somebody say, oh, this is really no big thing? You know, they're flirting around with something they ought not be messing around with, and you say, boy, this is dangerous. Have you ever heard somebody say, this is no big thing? I got it. Or maybe you've heard them say, I've got this under control. Nobody's raising their hand. You're not volunteering for nothing. Have you ever heard somebody say, I've got this under control? Okay, I'll use myself as an example. I like sugar. I am addicted to food. In fact, I tell people I have an allergy to sugar. Really? You're allergic to sugar? Yes, it makes my abdomen swell. Really? You've never heard of that? Like, you might have the same allergy. Just thinking. But I'm addicted to food. I love carbohydrates. How many of you love the carbohydrates? And I like to tell myself when I'm at dinner, I got this under control. No, I don't. Step on the scale and it says, to be continued. I was excited when I got to the point where I said, 1 at a time, please. I got this under control. See, this is not even from notes. I'm going to take you to the book of James, because this is the nature of sin. Let me just share this passage with you. It's not in the... This came to me this morning. I was going over the sermon, walking around the sanctuary, praying over the message, and God gave me this passage. This is the nature of sin. We're in James chapter 1. I'm going to start in verse 13. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. I look at you all, and I can see you. And I look at the text, and it's gone. Just give me a second. There it is. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, notice the word conceived, conception starts when things are very small. When desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. We have a little foster baby in our house. His name is Elijah. And Elijah's about this big. And I can hold Elijah, and I pick him up, and I shake him, and he's cute, and he's little, and he's manageable, and I've got it under control. Because it's little, and it's small, but here's the nature of sin. When you flirt with sin, it's conceived. And it starts out small, it starts out cute, it starts out all giggly. You say, wow, look at how fun this sin is. But it doesn't stay small. My 14-year-old See, that'll teach you. So the people of Israel, they cried out to the Lord for help. Why? Because they're flooding with sin. They're engaging with sin, and now it's taking them to a place they did not want to be. So they cry out to the Lord for help. Second thing I want to draw your attention to in this passage, 900 iron chariots. In chapter 5 of Judges, you find out the nation of Israel has no weapons at all. None. They've got slingshots.
Amen.
And they're facing an enemy that has 900 of that time would be tanks. Imagine if you're a part of the army of slingshots and here comes a war horse it's pulling an iron chariot. This is what they're facing, 900 iron chariots. Last little detail I want to pull out of this verse is the fact that they've been oppressed for 20 years. Now, last time I spoke to you, you remember that it was after 18 years that they cry out for help. But the nation of Israel they're getting more comfortable in their sin, and they're getting more comfortable in the consequence of their sin. It's taking them longer to reach a point where they're able to say, God, we want you to help us. Because this is the nature of sin. Now, Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lipidoth, was judging Israel at that time. Let me just tell you a little bit about Deborah. Deborah is unique among all of the judges. Every other judge in the book of Judges has a more militaristic commander of Israel's army approach to their leadership. Deborah's not this kind of judge. Deborah has a more judicial approach to her judgeship. When people want to know the outcome of a dispute, when they're fighting with their neighbor and they want to know what does God think about this, they come to Deborah and say, hey, Deborah, we need you to tell us what's going on. And so Deborah would bring justice to the life of the people. And if people wanted to hear the voice of God, they would go to Deborah. And this is interesting because during this time, during this piece of culture, women were not esteemed. They weren't valued, and yet God has risen up a woman by the name of Deborah to be judge over the people of Israel. And so she's got a message. And she sends this message to Barak. So verse 6, she sent and summoned Barak, the son of Abinadab, from Kadesh, or whatever it is. And he said, has not the Lord, the God of Israel, commanded you? She's not the ruler of the army. That's Barak's job. He's the general. And so Deborah sends for Barak, has not the Lord, the God of Israel, commanded you, go gather your men at Mount Tabor, taking 10,000 from the people of Naphtali and the people of Zebulun. Deborah comes up and says, listen, I got a message for you. You're going to sound the horn, you're going to blow the trumpet. And only 10,000 people are going to respond. And they're only going to come from 2 tribes. And we're going to press into that in just a little bit. But only 2 tribes are going to send out men. And they're going to number 10,000 in number. And with these 10,000, I want you to go and meet Sisera in battle. Let's look at verse 7. And I will draw out Sisera, the general of Jabin's army, to meet you by the river Kishon with his chariots and his troops, and I will drive them into your hand. I'm going to give them over to you. Now imagine if you can that you're Barak. And you look around and you've met with Deborah. I want you to take 10,000 men who have no weapons. And you're going to march down to the river Kishon. And you're going to be faced with 900 iron chariots. And all of his infantry. And all of his bowmen. And all of his guys. It's going to be great. God's going to hand them over to you. And if you're Barak, what are you thinking? You're nuts! Did you have a bad shawarma last night? What are you, crazy? This will be like a turkey shoot! 900 iron! We're going to be mowed down! We don't have any weapons. Look at the response in verse 8. Barak said to her, if you go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. You see what Barak is doing here? Barak is trying to manipulate God. knows that this is God's woman. And he knows the odds are against him. And he knows, he says, boy, if I'm going to go die in battle, and if this is really God's will for me, you need to come with me. If I'm going to put my neck on the line, you better be willing to put your neck on the line, because I am not willing to do this alone. What Barak is doing is he's practicing conditional obedience. Something that our church would never do. I'm sure you've never heard of a church say, hey, we feel like God is calling us to a building program or some kind of project, and we believe it's God's will, but boy, the funds better come in. Or hey, we kind of believe that God is leading us this direction as a church, but if it backfires, we're going to backpedal. I'm sure you've never heard of churches doing that. I'm sure you've never heard of God's people saying, I would sure like to bring my whole tithe into the storehouse. But if I'm going to be willing to bring my whole tithe into the storehouse, God better be willing to meet my needs. I will obey if God does blank. I'm sure you've never met an individual that thinks, this is getting kind of convicting, isn't it? Let's move on. Barak said to her, if you go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. And Deborah said, I surely will go with you. I surely will go with you. Nevertheless, the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. Then Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. Do you hear the principle that Deborah is trying to get Barak to understand? Let me say it this way. In other words, God is saying, I don't need you. I'm going to move, and I'm going to save my people. I am going to move, and I am going to build my church. I am going to move, and impossible things are going to happen. And if you would be willing to obey unconditionally, I will bless you. But if you don't want to be blessed, fine. I'll give the blessing to somebody else. Barak, you want to try to manipulate me? You want to try to say, oh, I'm going to do conditional obedience? Fine. I'll give the credit for this battle to a woman. The text continues. So Barak, he gathers his 10,000 men, and he comes to the mountain, and they're gathered in front of this river Kishon. And here comes the 900 chariots. And you can imagine Israel. Imagine what that must have been like. It gets to be a little scary. You hear the horses before you see the horses. The snorting of those war horses and the rattling of those iron chariots as they're getting close. And the battle lines are drawn. And then something begins to take place. The bright sunny day turns into dark. And the thunder begins to clap, and it begins to rain, it begins to pour, and all of a sudden this little river is turned into a rushing river, and it's overflowing its banks, and what used to be dry dirt is now turned into mud. Imagine what that must have been like for Sisera and his army. It's a sunny day, and they're marching out into battle, and these horses are drawing their war machines, and all of a sudden things begin to happen in the heavens. Supernatural things begin to take place, and they're looking up and they're like, God is fighting for the Israelites. And our chariots, they're acting and behaving more like anchors than they are war machines, and they're getting stuck in the mud, and the drivers begin to panic. And you can imagine that they get out of their chariots and they're leaving their weapons behind, and now Israel is emboldened with action. These 10,000 people see God fighting for them. They see an army retreating, and they begin to take after them. My guess, the text doesn't tell us, but my guess is because they had no weapons, they're picking up the discarded weapons of Sisera and his army, and they begin slaughtering them. Now, Barak has a change of attitude. He sees victory is within his grasp, and there is Sisera running away. And Barak says to himself, I got him! And the chase is on. Sisera's got a head start. And he's running, he sees Barak off in the distance. He's catching up. He's like, man, I got to find a place to hide. And he knows about a tent. It's a tent owned by a family who's friendly to his people. And so he runs up, and the husband's not home, but there's the wife. The problem is that he does not know that this Jael and her family is actually related to Moses. He is run right into the hands of the enemy. But he doesn't know this. And he's exhausted. He comes into the tent, and he's huffing, and he's puffing, and he's dehydrated. I need some water! Could you give me some water? Oh, you poor sweet thing. You don't really need some water. What you need is some warm milk. Amen. We don't want hypoglycemia to set in. You need some protein. The milk is really what you need. Let me get you some warm milk. Oh, you poor dear. You look so tired. Well, wouldn't you like to lay down? It's been a long run. I know. It's been a rough day. Lay down on this bed. Let me get you my sheepskin, and I'll cover you up and make you nice and warm. And you know what? I'll even stand guard. And when that wicked Barak shows up, I'll tell him he went the other way. Will you do that for me? Oh, yes. I'll do that for you. As soon as Sisera was fast asleep. Fast asleep. And you can just picture there's not my details, read the scripture. She tiptoes over the corner of her tent. She picks up a tent peg, walks back over, puts that tent peg right on his temple. Bam! She nailed him. Right through the temple, and she drives that peg right into the dirt. He's dead. And she goes and she stands out in front of her tent and waits for Barak to show up. I got the guy you're looking for. And victory goes to Jael. Amen. Then you get to chapter 5. And in chapter 5, you see a prayer or a song of Deborah. And there's something in the song that I want to draw your attention to. In the song, she talks about the fact that the trumpet has sounded and only 10,000 men respond. Only people from part of Israel show up. Where were the rest of the tribes of Israel? They weren't united. Imagine, if you can, being a part of an organization that isn't united. Imagine if you can be a part of a group of people who they say, you know what, this isn't my problem. These aren't my borders that I'm defending. You see, Israel, 12 tribes, and they were behaving like 12 different countries. And 2 of them show up because they say, you know what, this deals directly with me. And because it deals with me, I'm going to give some men. But the rest of the tribes of Israel, they didn't show up. And so Deborah rebukes them in the psalm. Loved ones, this is the tool of the enemy, and it has not changed. Amen. He says, you know what, I want to take a church and I want to divide it. And if there's no unity in the church, then when rumors start to happen, people begin to believe the rumors, and when there's unity, there's discord. And when there's a lack of unity, there's discord. And once there's discord, there is division. And if there's division, then I can attack and be victorious. Because he knows that if we're united, he has no chance. Yeah. See, today's sermon is very simple. 2 points. 2 points, that's it. And I'm going to pray and let you go. Number 1, God expects us to give him 100% unconditional obedience. Amen. That's what he expects. And when we obey completely, he blesses completely. Try it. Try it at work. Understanding that you don't work for a man, you work for God. Amen. Try it at home with your spouse to say, you know what, I'm going to love my spouse the way that God expects me to. Try it with your parenting. Try it at church. Well, God said, do it my way. If you obey conditionally, try it in your finances. Obey and release the hand of God's blessing on you. That's point number one. Point number two. If God is going to use this church needs to be united. Amen. It needs to be united. We can't be bickering about styles. We can't be bickering about... These things are important. In the essentials, we seek unity. Amen. In the non-essentials, we have liberty. And in all things, we show charity. Right? Amen. Unity, liberty, and charity. That is how we get unity in a church. And if we become united, let me give you a picture. I'm going to paint a picture and I'm going to pray and close. Here's the picture. Imagine somebody gets on the phone and they call your house or your cell or whatever it is and it rings. And you pick it up. Hello. Man, this is so-and-so from church. I got to tell you, I'm upset about whatever. And they want to dump all kinds of nonsense in you because they want to sow seeds of division and discord. They want to get you worked up. What would happen if you say, man, God is doing an amazing thing in my church? People are getting baptized, people are getting saved, people are getting called into full-time Christian ministry. We got adults that want to be pastors, we got kids that want to be pastors, and just God is doing awesome things. I don't know what you're complaining about. I love my church. I can tell you it's going to be a very short conversation. Oh, sorry to bother you. Goodbye. Unity. The opposite story is a sadder story. Your phone rings, hello, this is so-and-so, let me come to my church. Oh man, I was kind of feeling this. And then the conversation goes, and you get off the phone, it's like, man, I feel kind of bad. Feeling kind of heavy. Let me call Ken, and I'll unload my stuff. Hey Ken, so-and-so just called me. And then Ken's going to feel heavy, and he's going to call somebody else. Creates a cancer in the body. And that cancer creates unhealth, which is a slippery slope. Amen. 2 points of action. We need to be willing to commit to unconditional obedience, number one. Number two, let's be united about salvation in the gospel of Jesus Christ. The rest of the stuff, of importance. Let's close in a word of prayer. God, we thank you for this journey that we are taking through the book of Judges. God, it is so easy for us to get caught up in what we want, what we think. God, help us to be a people that is more concerned about what you think and what you want. God, help us to be a people that is willing to obey unconditionally, not to try to manipulate you, but to say, you know what? If God says it, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it with everything we got. And then God, help us to be a people that says, you know what? We're going to stand united. We're not going to worry about all the little details. We're just going to say, hey, I love God. I love his body called the church, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do next. God, help us to put on positive attitudes so that we can reflect you positively in our community. And Jesus, we ask this in your son's name, and God's church said, amen.